Either YouTube, it's Petey Two Finger, and what do I got here? I don't know. Let's see what it is. It's an unboxing video. Yay! It's my Tata order. And what have we here? Yay! It's another Tata order. I thought these are battery sleds, and I use these in projects. And oftentimes I will find myself on eBay looking for these where they're a little bit more expensive. So I just straight up, we have 3 and 4. 3 3-bangers, 3 2-bangers, and 4 3-bangers. So I had assumed that this here order was not 2 Tata orders. I got this. This is 10 feet of 5mm heat shrink tubing. I think what I really like is the 4.5. But so yeah, this is heat shrink tubing, and this is what we should use instead of electrical tape. Heat shrink tubing is it's not as messy when we desolder it. When we need to remove a piece of heat shrink tubing, it's a little bit more energy is spent in the cutting it off with a hobby knife. You know, you got to get a sharp blade and cut it, but there's no nasty galoop. There's no glue left behind. It looks neater when it's installed, properly done heat shrink tubing. Looks nice, and there's different ways to apply it where you could use a lighter. You could use I think that's probably about the most common way. I really like to use a embossing tool. Now, an embossing tool is very much like a hair dryer in that it shoots out blast of hot air. And in the case of the embossing tool, I believe that it's a little bit hotter. Embossing tool kind of looks like a lightsaber. It's about like that size, that shape. Got a little switch in the back, it tapers down in the front, and it puts out this hot air. You got to be careful. Don't point it at yourself. But the thing with the lighter is, and recently a tip, if you look when you light the lighter, if you really look at the flame, there's this part up here that's yellow, and then down here is the blue part. What they'll teach you in science classes is that heat rises, and also that the hot part of that flame is the top. So the cooler part of the flame is down in the blue. So if you do have to use a Bic lighter, or similar butane lighter to shrink shrink your heat shrink tubing. You should try not using the white of the flame like I always used to do. Do it in the blue. Put it all the way up into the blue, and this way there's lesser of a chance of overdoing it, where the shrink boot will begin to break down from the intense effects of improper high temperature. So by breakdown, I mean it'll become pock marks and it'll become brittle, and it also discolors it. So yes, using an embossing tool is going to take a little bit more time. Maybe it uses a little bit more energy because you're using electricity. It's a little bit more awkward. You got to have a larger tool, get in there with a cable on it. But it's really the better way to go. It really is the better way to go.
It's not plugged in.
Oh, thank you, Gomti. Here is one of our embossing heat tools. This is a Marvy Uchida model 2500 embossing heat tool. The Marvy Uchida. You thought I was kidding about Uchida. No, I wasn't. And yeah, let me point it at the camera when it's red hot. Can you see the coils going in there? Yeah, I wasn't kidding. So that's what the mini hair dryer or embossing tool is all about. And I really thought that I was going to be opening a used guitar pedal that I paid $25 for, and I'm a bit suspect on it. I like to, if I'm a little worried about stuff, I'll do an unboxing video, and that way if there's a problem, I have myself on camera opening the thing. So anyway, it was a bit of a letdown. Now I got to go through this. This is what we do when we get a Tata order. Tata is the company that I buy my electronics from. Oh, look, more heat shrink tubing. And we've got some fuse holders, some knobs, and this is Tata Electronics. Yay, Tata. Here's what I have to be excited about, is checking the color. This should be a army green. I think it's a 4 knob. Yeah. Wow, that's really army green. This is a powder coated enclosure we got from Tata. And what's going to be built into this is something called a Benson Preamp. Now, I initially had bought the Benson Preamp, the PCB, the circuit board. You buy the circuit board, you get the resistors, the transistors, the integrated circuit chips, and what have you, along with the jacks, the stomp switch, all of that stuff. You buy that from Tata. You get the PCB from Pedal PCB. It's one of the companies that I buy often from. See, there's a couple of potentiometers in here. Here is some LEDs. We got orange, blue, and there's some clear ones that I'm sure are colored. LEDs in there. Can you see those? Here's some knobs. Oh, these Marshall style knobs. They're black Marshall style knobs. Isn't this a good looking knob? Look at that. Now the set screw hole is blown out. there is flash or extra brass blown out of that hole, and you have to put this on a shaft of a pot, which there's no you need to take the drill bit that fits perfectly into that hole and run that drill bit so it scrapes that flash off there. I did that last night on a dozen of those knobs, and now we have, how many more came in? So these here are, those are 50 cents a piece, those knobs, and they have set screws. They're for, really should use the round shaft, not the spline shaft, 6.35 millimeter. But I think they sell a version of those that is for the splined non-set screw variety. These are 5 by 20 millimeter fuse holders. Okay, so this here is kind of a weird thing. It's got spring loaded on one side. You put the fuse in here, screw it together, and then ideally you'll cut this here, open it up, and solder this in line. Now what I find with this particular type, this wire is really a thick plastic. The actual wire, they really skimp on it. There's hardly any wire in there, and they break here. If this is in use and it's not a permanent installation, meaning if this is moving, it will fail right there. So my recommendation, if you're going to buy these, is you would heat it up with a lighter a little bit underneath here. Use a needle nose pliers, grab onto the end and yank it out, pull it apart, and then just solder on a thicker, bulkier, larger gauge wire. And we have, looks like we have 5 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fuse holders. Empty. I'm going to give you these fuse holders. You know where they go? In the pull out above the alarm clocks. And there was 5 of them. Here we have some. What?
They go there.
Yeah, in the MISC or whatever drawer they fit in. There might even be one labeled fuses. Here's some fuse holders that have holes in the bottom. I bought like 50 of these. I fell in love with them and bought a whole bunch, and I bought the wrong ones. The ones that I bought did not have the mounting hole, and there's a support rail that runs down the middle of it, so drilling a mounting hole in through that is next to impossible. So always double check when you're ordering, or you'll learn the hard way. Again, some potentiometers. We've got NE5532, the chip that you're most likely to get ripped off and buy something from eBay and find that they are counterfeit. This is a 3 millimeter bezel. Here is a clear 5 millimeter bezel. Super cool. Super cool. These are new. To me, I didn't know they had them. I've got a couple of these 50 volt 100 UF 50 volt capacitors. This stuff is ordered, LEDs. Here's more fuse holders, baby. I ordered this stuff. I had initially purchased the Benson Preamp PCB, and then I went ahead and bought parts, and they were out of stock on some of the pots that have the 90 legs that mount in the PCB mount, the right angle pots. They didn't have, they selling out of that stuff because of pedal PCB. Tata is booming selling. The neat thing is that they have the pre-drilled enclosures, so this, you don't have to paint, you don't have to drill. Like this is bringing pedal building to like super accessible. This is really easy, really easy stuff. Now, last night I had a 2 millimeter piece of solder. I bought a pound of solder, and it's crappy solder, and it's caused me some issues. I may have to find a brand name and just spend more on that. I use about a pound every 2 years. But yeah, 2 millimeters of the solder piece of it fell underneath where the integrated circuit chip socket is, and it made contact between that circuit, that IC, and two resistors. It was touching, and it my pedal didn't work, and I was flipping out. I was getting ready to write. We took all pictures, and I was writing. You know, I got this board, and so yeah, I eventually, from poking around and doing all kinds of testing and troubleshooting, I saw it in there. I couldn't get it out, so I just melted it with the iron, and then the pedal worked. But it blew one of the ICs, not the one that it was touching. The one above it was blown. So go figure on that. So maybe not so accessible, but yeah, I bought the PCB for the Benson because I found this beautiful tweed box that's kind of narrow, and I was gonna use chicken head knobs, and I got a Fender logo. I was going to put that Fender logo on there in an amber, big 10 millimeter amber LED with a nice bezel, and it would be a battery powered Fender amp. This Benson Preamp, which is a JFET, like kind of a Fender sound. And I changed my mind about that. It would be a little bit of a challenge. There's the sliding. The inside of the box is super thick, so drilling through it, I would have to use Forstner bits to pan it out to give room for the threads on the pots, and then putting these battery trays, like 2 battery trays on each one of these 3 or 4 shelves inside of this thing that I had cut that slide in and out of these grooves. I mean, maybe eventually I will build something into that, but I decided I'm going to build the Benson into a pedal. So I went ahead and ordered this army green chassis, and then I got the pots that we were short, and then just some other stuff that I use and run out of. So that's the Tata order. I will talk to you guys soon, and look for that real unboxing video coming. That pedal was supposed to come. Oh no, it's coming tomorrow. So I'll see you soon, and peace.